What if the reason you've never felt whole is because you've never actually met yourself without the mask? What if the pain that keeps breaking you isn't life being cruel, but your soul trying to tear down everything that's false? No one tells you that awakening feels like dying. They romanticize healing, put it in pastel affirmations and quiet meditations. But they don't talk about the nights you scream into pillows so no one hears your soul shatter. They don't warn you that transformation starts with destruction, that the very first step to becoming who you truly are is mourning who you pretended to be. And that grief, it doesn't ask for permission. It pours in like floodwater and drowns your certainty, your pride, your plans. You thought you'd feel light, you thought you'd feel free, but instead you're burning. Your body aches, your mind spirals, your relationships fracture. And the truth? Most people run, they numb, they cling to what's comfortable even when it's killing them slowly. Because staying asleep hurts less than waking up, but not you. You're still here, knees on the floor, whispering, please, let this mean something. You're not broken, you're breaking open, and this is only the beginning. Because meeting yourself, really meeting yourself, is not a beautiful reunion at first. It's confrontation, it's discomfort, it's peeling back layers you thought were personality only to find they were actually protection. And once the armor falls, the silence gets loud. The wounds start speaking, the truth starts trembling through your bones, and you realize how long you've lived someone else's idea of who you should be. You see the smiles that were survival tactics, the ambition that was distraction, the love you gave away just to feel enough for a moment. It all starts rising, uninvited, unfiltered, and utterly necessary. This is not ruin, this is rebirth. But birth has always been bloody, always been painful, always been sacred. You're learning how to sit with the ache instead of escape it, to stop asking your sadness to leave before it teaches you something. You begin to understand that healing is not a destination. It's a dismantling. It's a remembering. It's losing yourself on purpose so you can come back different, real, whole. And yes, some people will leave. Some things will collapse. That version of you, the one that smiled when it hurt, the one that folded to fit, is not coming back. And that loss? It's holy. It means the illusion is dying. It means the real you is stirring. The one who doesn't perform peace but lives in pursuit of it. The one who isn't afraid to be seen shaking. The one who knows that wholeness has nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with presence. There will be days you feel like a mess, a ruin, a burning house, but somewhere in those ashes, your truth is gathering breath, and when it rises, it won't need applause. It won't need permission. It will simply be. You'll speak differently. You'll move differently. Not because someone told you how, but because you finally stopped editing your existence. And you'll begin to see that the breaking was the blessing, that the unraveling was grace in disguise, that every tear you hid was watering the roots of your return. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment, into truth, into the you that's been waiting beyond the noise, beyond the roles, beyond the years you spent trying to be what everyone else needed. And now that you've glimpsed the edge of who you really are, there's no going back, only through, only deeper. And even though the path ahead is uncertain, even though it still trembles beneath your feet, you walk it anyway. Not because it's easy, but because this time you're finally walking home. The mind may lie, but the body never does. It remembers everything you tried to bury. Every time you smiled when you were breaking. Every time you said, I'm fine, while your nervous system screamed. Now that you're unraveling, your body becomes the battlefield. You wake up tired like you've been fighting wars in your sleep. Your chest tightens for no reason. Your heart races like it's seen something your eyes won't admit. Your skin prickles with the heat of unspoken rage. Your stomach coils around grief that's been passed down for generations, and you wonder, why now? But the body has its own timing. It knows when the soul is finally ready to feel what it once couldn't survive. This is not weakness. This is the fire making its way through your cells. This is old trauma rising like smoke from your bones, demanding to be seen. You ache, not because you're broken, but because your armor is melting. You tremble, not from fear, but from the sheer weight of truth moving through you. This isn't anxiety, it's your spirit stretching, cracking, gasping for air after lifetimes of silence. And still, most people silence it again. They run to prescriptions, distractions, anything to keep the body quiet, but not you. You're starting to listen. And the fire, yes, it hurts, but it's burning away everything that was never truly yours. Because beneath every tremor, every knot in your belly, every headache that arrives without reason, there is a message. Your body is not betraying you, it's begging for your attention, begging to be trusted. You've spent years trying to think your way out of what needed to be felt, years gaslighting your own senses to keep the peace, to avoid the rupture, to play the role. But the body holds no allegiance to your masks. It doesn't care about your deadlines or your people-pleasing. It keeps score of the moments your heart clenched, but you kept smiling. It remembers the time your voice wanted to rise, but your lips stayed closed. The body is not the enemy. It is the messenger, the sacred witness, the only part of you that has stayed honest through it all. And now it's speaking louder because you're finally ready to hear it. The fatigue is not failure. It's the weight of all the battles you won silently. The shortness of breath is not weakness. It's the exhale that's been waiting years to be released. That lump in your throat? That's a truth you swallowed a decade ago, rising again, desperate to be spoken. There is a sacred intelligence here, a wisdom older than language, and no matter how many times the world taught you to override it, it never stopped loving you, never stopped waiting for the day you would return. And now that you have, the reckoning begins, not as punishment, but as purification. Yes, it's messy, yes, it's overwhelming, but it's also holy, because for the first time, you are not asking your body to be silent. You are asking it to lead. You are not demanding it to perform wellness while it's weeping for truth. You are offering it presence, tenderness, permission, and that is everything. Because healing doesn't happen in the mind alone. It happens when your body feels safe enough to fall apart. When you stop calling your symptoms inconvenient and start seeing them as sacred signals. When you stop striving to be normal and start honoring what is real. This isn't a breakdown. This is a breakthrough, cell by cell, breath by breath. Your nervous system is unlearning survival. Your bones are shedding inherited burdens. Your blood is beginning to remember peace. You are not failing. You are finally becoming fluent in your own language. And as the fire moves through you, burning away the debris of suppression, a quiet truth rises from the ashes. This body, this trembling, aching body, is not your obstacle. It is your oracle. And it has waited a long, long time for you to listen. At some point, it starts to dawn on you. You're not healing into the person you once were. You're not coming back to yourself. You're watching yourself disappear. The version of you who always had the right answers, who made people comfortable, who knew how to blend in, achieve, perform, she's slipping through your fingers like sand you were never meant to hold. And it feels like dying because in a way, it is. Identity is a coffin dressed up in personality. And now the nails are coming loose. You walk into rooms you used to own and feel like a stranger. You hear your voice and it sounds foreign. You laugh, but it doesn't land the same. Nothing fits. Your job, your friends, your dreams, they all belong to someone else, someone you built to survive. But survival has an expiration date, and now that you're no longer willing to abandon yourself for belonging, the world you created for your false self begins to collapse. This is where most people panic. They patch up the cracks, rebuild the mask, rejoin the performance, because being no one feels more terrifying than being someone you hate, but not you. You are letting it fall. You are letting the illusions rot. You are facing the void without reaching for an identity to rescue you. And in that hollow space, terrifying, disorienting, sacred, you begin to understand you're not losing yourself. You're losing who you were never meant to be. And that unraveling, however brutal, is the first honest thing you've done in years. No longer sedated by praise, no longer flattered by the roles that once defined you, you are learning to sit in the wreckage without trying to clean it up too quickly. You are learning to wait, not for clarity, but for authenticity. And it doesn't come in neatly packaged epiphanies. It arrives slowly, like a new language, spoken from the body before the mind can translate it. You begin to notice what stirs you, what no longer resonates, what makes your skin crawl even though it used to make you feel successful. You notice how much of your old life was designed to keep you hidden from yourself, strategies, personas, smiles that never reached your eyes. And now here you are, raw and unrecognizable. But this time, you're not trying to be seen. You're trying to see, to look at yourself without the filters, to stand in the center of your own undoing and not flinch. There's a holy ache to it, this becoming no one, because it's in the nothingness that the truth begins to speak. Not the kind of truth you post online, the kind that hums beneath your ribs, the kind that doesn't need an audience. And yes, there will be grief, oceans of it, because even false selves feel like home when you've lived in them long enough. Even cages start to feel like comfort. But grief is proof that you're releasing something that once held you. And in that release, space is made. Space for what's real, for what's never been performative, for the version of you that doesn't exist to please, to impress, to survive, but simply to be. There will be days when you want to crawl back, when the silence feels too loud, when the void feels like failure, but you'll stay. You'll hold the emptiness like a fragile truth, because now you understand that wholeness doesn't come from adding more, it comes from shedding. You were never meant to wear so many layers just to be loved. You were never meant to shrink to be chosen. And now that you've stopped negotiating your soul for acceptance, life begins to rearrange itself around your truth. People fall away. Desires shift. The ground beneath you splits, not to destroy you, but to root you deeper into what cannot be taken, what cannot be faked, what cannot be forgotten. And what remains, after all the noise, all the names, all the not you, is a stillness so alive it no longer needs to be understood. It just is, and so are you. And just when you think the worst is over, you meet the mirror. Not the one on your wall, but the one that waits in the dark, the one that doesn't flinch. This mirror doesn't care for who you tried to be. It's not impressed by your healing rituals, your spiritual language, your neatly packaged insights. It sees through all of it. It waits in silence until you're too tired to perform, too gutted to pretend, and then it rises. The shadow, the parts of you you swore weren't real. The envy, the control, the rage, the shame, the unspoken thoughts you thought you buried with good intentions. They rise, they scream, they claw through the silence with blood on their hands and ask, "Will you love me now?" Most people slam the mirror shut. They quote light and love. They bypass the storm. They call their shadows demonic and exile them all over again. But not you. You don't turn away. You let it break you. You let the mirror crack open your carefully curated identity. You let the darkness speak, and you find out it's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to save you. Because only by loving the parts you were told to hide can you ever be whole. This isn't self-improvement. This is self-acceptance at gunpoint. This is your inner child with her fists up, begging you not to leave her behind again. And you don't. You stay. You stay in front of the mirror that shows no mercy. And finally, you stop hiding from yourself. And what you begin to realize in that moment, the moment the mask falls and the shadow speaks, is that the parts you feared the most were never trying to destroy you. They were the guardians of your truth. Misunderstood, yes. Ugly maybe, but never evil. The anger was the scream of your boundaries long ignored. The envy was your unlived potential pointing toward what you believed you could never have. The control was your frightened heart, trying to create safety in a world that felt unpredictable and cruel. The shame, that was the scar tissue from all the places you were made to feel unworthy, unlovable, too much or not enough. These parts didn't need banishment. They needed your embrace, they needed your presence, not your perfection. And when you stopped resisting, when you finally said, "I see you," something shifted. Not immediately, not neatly, but undeniably. The mirror no longer felt like a threat. It became a portal, a passage, a sacred invitation into the wholeness that no amount of pretending could ever give you. The world may reward the polished, but the soul seeks the real. And real means messy. Real means holding your contradictions with compassion. Real means loving the part of you that wants to heal and the part that wants to sabotage it, the part that prays and the part that curses, the part that uplifts and the part that still wounds. This is not a linear path. It's a spiral, a constant descent and return. You'll meet that mirror many times in different seasons, through different faces, and each time it will ask the same question. Will you love what you see even when it terrifies you? And if you say yes, trembling, unsure but sincere, you will find freedom. Not the freedom sold in affirmations or marketed in mantras. The kind of freedom that can only be born from self-intimacy. From staying when you want to run. From choosing to soften when everything in you screams to shut down. This is the sacred violence of awakening. This is the revolution of presence. And you are no longer running, no longer splitting yourself into digestible pieces. You are reclaiming every shadow, every wound, every misstep, and calling it yours. Not to glorify the pain, but to honor the path. Because the deeper you go into the dark, the more light you carry back. And this mirror, this merciless reflection, this holy confrontation, it didn't come to shame you. It came to deliver you. And finally, you let it. After the mirror, silence becomes the only honest sound. You try to reach out, to explain what's happening inside you, but the words disintegrate in your mouth. How do you describe the sensation of dissolving? How do you tell someone you're grieving a self you never truly were, so you stop trying? You pull away, not because you don't love them, but because you can't keep lying. Their world still spins on validation and performance, and you no longer fit the choreography. You sit in rooms you once belonged to and feel like a ghost. They ask if you're okay, and you nod, but inside it's winter. Solitude wraps around you like a second skin, not chosen, but earned. Real awakening is lonely because you're the only one who can walk this path. No one can hold your hand while you burn off every illusion that made you lovable. No one can sit in your skin while you feel the grief, the rage, the abandonment that's been waiting for decades to be seen. You stare at your phone and no one texts. You scream into the void and it echoes back. You want comfort, but all you get is truth, and truth doesn't coddle. It strips, it isolates, it demands everything. And yet, this loneliness is not empty, it's sacred. It's the space where your soul finally breathes. It's the womb of rebirth, where nothing exists but what's real. You are alone, yes, but you are also becoming. There comes a point when everything collapses, not just your identity, but your framework for meaning. The maps stop working, the mantras go hollow, the timelines dissolve. Healing no longer feels like a straight line, it's a maze without exits. One day you feel clear, grounded, almost free, and the next you're crawling through memories you swore you already buried. The pain loops back, the triggers resurface, and you begin to wonder, is this progress, or am I just broken in circles? But the truth is, transformation was never meant to be linear. You are not a checklist. You are a storm system, unpredictable and sacred. You are rage and softness, collapse and resurrection, happening all at once. And most people can't take the not knowing. They return to labels, to doctrines, to anything that offers certainty, even if it costs them their truth. But not you. You're learning to stay present in the chaos. You're beginning to see that confusion is not failure. It's the undoing of false clarity, the kind of clarity that kept you asleep. And in this void where nothing makes sense, something ancient wakes up. A knowing beneath knowing. A truth that doesn't come in words but in presence, in breath, in the rawness of each moment surrendered without a script. You're not lost. You're being recalibrated, torn out of illusion so that what's real can finally emerge. And though your mind screams for answers, your soul whispers, just keep going, keep softening, keep listening, because the discomfort you feel is not the end. It's the doorway, the cracking open, the compost from which something wild and honest will grow. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. And one day, not far from now, you'll look back and realize the collapse was not your undoing, it was your becoming. The ground beneath you didn't vanish, it transformed. And now so are you, emerging not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. There is a moment in every real transformation where the ego begins to die, and it doesn't go quietly. It thrashes, it bargains, it accuses, it clings to every mask you ever wore, screaming, "Don't you dare let go," because the ego was built to protect you from shame, from rejection, from vulnerability. It was the armor you forged in fire. It got you here, but it can't take you further. So now it fights, not because it's evil, but because it's afraid. Afraid that without it, you'll vanish. Afraid that if you stop controlling, performing, defending, you'll be nothing. And in a way, it's right. Because this is the death of who you thought you had to be. The letting go of the image, the narrative, the polished version of you that was digestible to the world. And death is excruciating. You feel it in your bones. The trembling, the disorientation, the sense that you're standing at the edge of yourself with no bridge back. This is where most people stop. They run, they patch the mask, they reassemble the false self just to breathe again. But not you. You let the ego die screaming. You don't rescue it. You don't explain it away. You watch it dissolve, one identity at a time, until there is nothing left but presence. No story, no title, just the raw pulse of aliveness, stripped bare. This is the ego's last breath and your first taste of freedom. There comes a silence so complete it terrifies you. No more answers, no more visions, no more promises that it will all make sense. Just a hollow ache where your certainty used to be. And this is where real surrender begins. Not the romantic kind, not the spiritual performance of letting go while secretly gripping the outcome. No, this is the surrender that feels like dying, because it is. It's giving up the illusion that you're in control, that if you try hard enough, heal fast enough, perform worthiness well enough, you'll be spared the unraveling. But here in the wreckage, you see it. There is no saving. There is only softening, only yielding. You drop your sword. You stop bargaining with the universe. You stop demanding a reason for your pain. And in that naked moment, you are nothing, no role, no direction, just breath and bones and a flicker of life that refuses to go out. Most people run from this place. They can't bear the weightlessness, the ego death hangover, the echo of a self that no longer exists. But not you. You stay. You let yourself grieve. You let yourself fall apart without trying to make art from it. And slowly, quietly, something shifts. Not in your mind, but in your being. The part of you that was always trying to become finally stops. And what's left is presence. Not power, not purpose, just presence, real, raw, and alive. And without even knowing it, you're already crossing into rebirth. Because this is the paradox of the void. It feels like loss, but it is actually space. The space where something true might finally grow. For the first time, you are not trying to become anything. You are simply letting yourself be. There is no map here, no mantra to whisper your way out. There is only stillness, and in that stillness, your nervous system stops bracing for the next collapse. Your breath deepens, not in celebration, but in surrender. You realize that life was never asking you to prove anything. It was only ever asking you to feel, to be with what is, to love without knowing, to move without certainty. You begin to see how much of your doing was just a distraction from your being, how many of your dreams were rooted in fear, not freedom. And here, in this soft annihilation, you glimpse something holy, not a God who rescues you, but a self who finally trusts life enough to be held by it. There is no timeline now, no urgency, just the sacred rhythm of breath and awareness. And though your ego will scream for structure, for momentum, for validation, your soul knows better. Your soul knows that healing is not a ladder, it is a spiral. And you are exactly where you're meant to be. Not ascending, not fixing, just opening, dismantling, remembering. And in this deep pause, this holy nothingness, you stop chasing rebirth like a prize. You realize it's already happening, not with fire, not with fanfare, but with every breath you take without pretending, every moment you choose to stay instead of escape, every second you let presence be enough. This is where you begin again.